Okay, good morning, everybody. Please ignore the background music. Sitting in the lounge, looking over the ancient walls of Jerusalem, so gonna have to deal with the music. So it is what it is. Looks like we had some interesting moves this past couple of days while I was traveling, and again, it's a news event that's really getting us up here. It looks like China, New York, American deal. Potentially in the works, and we get the push right into the supply near the top. Again, notice that we are looking at one move straight off the bottom, right, into supply. What does that tell you? What's the trend? Or over here, it's a drop-based drop. It's been pushing down. And what we're going to get is some kind of pushback out of the zone. There's no doubt about that. We're up to the point where, the level that I said we may potentially push through the beginning part of this last week is what we were talking about. It ends up getting through that. It lands in the supply, it lands in the supply, it lands in the supply. So what do you think is going to happen? Right? There's a very high probability that we get a pullback out of this level. How far the pullback goes at this point, so last week before we got this high, so we were looking for, a pullback out of the lower level into this. Now that we're getting up there, so maybe we get up to the zone and we pull back to like the 2,500 area right over here. I would say that's a pretty good target for this week, and then decide what happens after that. Right now, still leaning short from the higher time frames perspective. The rally or relief rally that we had after the massive sell-off, even on the daily chart, you could see is not really any selling pressure whatsoever, which means that the sellers that created this haven't flexed their muscles, they haven't been tested, they just let it go so far. And once they start turning on the screws, which I think is about the point where we're at, we're going to see if these buyers are real or they're fake. So I'm expecting some turbulence this week coming into the markets over here. We're looking for a pullback in the equities. Okay, so we're at the supply zone already. See if we can see where the shorts are developing for us here. So again, the 60s in an uptrend at this point. We'd have to wait for it to really flip over. We're at supply, even on the 60 zone for that matter. So again, pulling back into a demand zone, creating lower highs, and then we can short. So the shorts are not on the chart yet. It has the potential to start. I would say hold off. We're not shorting anything. We're waiting for demand to get hit. We're going to watch it rally up and make a lower high at least on a 15 chart before we start any shorts. Okay. So currently on the 15, you can see that we're at the supply. We really still inside the zone. So nobody knows. So there's no chart, there's no trade yet, at least for the ES. We have to wait for it to develop. What are we looking for? We're looking for a short. Okay? We're looking for a short and down back to the 25 to 20, I think the level was, not on the daily chart. So it's a decent short, 120, 130, 140 ES points to the downside. Okay? Let's take a look at the NASI. Okay. I don't know how good the volume is or how good the sound quality is. Again, I'm only using Wi-Fi in the hotel and stuff, so forgive me for that part. Again, notice the same exact setup. It's straight into the supply zone, right? Over here also very, very little red colors, right? Not a lot of selling pressure in here at all. And now we're back to the supply. Right? So that's it. This is the spot where we're looking for the sellers to step up over here. Right? We've been on a monthly chart. We're coming back to the beginning of this doji, and we're looking for this to push back. And again, probably at this point, we're looking at a 65, 60 area over here for a target on the NQ for this coming week. I would say we're looking at something over here. Like pull back into this zone right here. The doji on somewhere inside here, right? Doji on the daily chart. So it's actually a dot higher. Doji is actually a dot lower than this 240 zone. It's a composition of the two zones together over here. But that's the area we're looking for. Just a pullback into here, and then we'll decide what happens. Do we rally out of there? Do we, drop base drop? I don't know yet, but I know that we should be seeing a pullback over here, and into one of these demand zones under here before we're ready for the next leg up. Okay? If there's going to be a leg up, it might be a leg down, but either way, we need to pull back first. So looking for pullbacks. and it's a big one. It's a 400 NASDAQ points is what we're talking about. On the 60, same story. It's an uptrend. We're at the supply zone. It's not the time to short just yet. We'll have to wait and see, this coming week where the 15 starts to give us that hint that the uptrend is about to end. And when it does, think about getting short. Okay. So those are the levels that got thrown out so far, and nothing else other than that. Let's take a look at crude, which has been benefiting from the news events from China, and also got a nice little pop. And also still looking at crude, even on the weekly chart of crude, same story. It's just one move straight up into the supply zone. There's a lot of selling pressure coming in this week. Now, all this has to be relieved. If crude really is going to rally, it's going to do this. Okay, so right now the selling portion is what we should be seeing fairly soon. If we're not already there, the daily chart looks like we have a little bit more to go. There was a rollover, so part of the push up is rollover, but it's not a major part. It wasn't a giant rollover gap. You can see it over here. You see it on some of the other time frames. It's small. This big push over here was news. Right, so that's what we're looking at over here, and again, expect retracements of news. Expect that we're in supply zone. Things will pull back. We're in a weekly supply zone, and we should see some kind of pushback out of that zone. Let's take a look over here. There's our 60. Also, same story. Still in an uptrend. There's the rollover gap that I'm talking about. It's really not that big. So this is real demand over here. Okay, and we should be seeing at least this, and what I'm expecting is probably something like this. Right, a rally out of the demand zone, and then a lower high, and then the sell-off. So if you want to start getting short, it's going to be after this happens. Okay? Same thing for the NQ, same thing for the ES. All that is all the same because we're expecting trend to flip over here, so just wait for it. Okay? Let's take a look at gold, which had a pretty good pullback this week. On the weekly chart, it's just within the range of the last 3 weeks, nothing major. But you start to see hints over here about this little breakout out of this little trend over here, out of a little trend line. We're breaking down underneath all this over here. We got this wedge going over here on the 240. This one up here that we start to break down out of, and now we broke the other trend line. This trend line is the same as this one, and now we've hit demand over here. So it's sort of, a little bit range bound, hasn't been really going too far. It's the first hint that it's pulling back, but, if it doesn't get any continuation, it could just, shoot back up there. So we should be seeing a test of the breakout coming back to like the 1290 area, and then, we'll determine if it's going to continue up. I think it probably is just trying to wash out some of the longs over here before we go through 1300. We've been banging up there around 1295, 96, 97 for a bunch of days, couldn't clear 1300, so we need to pull back and pick up some new demand from underneath us and be able to push through this level. And I think that's what we're going to see this week. Exactly when it's going to start. Well, we picked up some new demand back under here. You can see that on 240. Let's go look at the 60 chart. Blow this up a little bit. Okay, so yeah, there's a couple of demand zones underneath us. How far is it going to go? It's hard to tell. You can see we're really range bound for a bunch of days over here, right? And we finally break down a little bit, but we've got all this demand under us. It's likely to just push into here and then start doing something like this and then shoot through the top. It's looking to pick up some new demand after, fighting to get through 1300 and was unable to. So I'm weary of this breakdown, this sell-off over here. It looks like a fake out to me. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out this coming week, but I'm looking for a long someplace over here. Okay, especially if it gets back inside the range over here. Because then we'll know that this is a fake out on the bottom side. It shouldn't go back in there. If it's going to really sell off, it should back test the breakout and then make a new low. But if it goes up there and then breaks back inside here, that will usually give you an idea that this was a false breakout, and usually will break out of the other side. So we go like this now, and we go back into here, expect this side to break out, and it's going to get us through 1300. So keep your eye on that little range over there for gold, looking for a bottom to form and on the smaller time frames and start the longs. Okay, there's a bunch of supply on the way on the 15, so it's not a rush to get into this trade. As far as the long is concerned, I'd like to see some of this, at least this one, cleared. 1288 out of the way. That one is nasty looking. this thing over here. Okay. Want that done. Okay, let's look at the dollar this week, which had a continued rally and looking really nice. Looks like on the weekly chart, a very strong showing for the dollar. This little hammer over here from last week gets taken out, continuation to the top side and a close above the 200 on the weekly chart. So expect continued strength this week. We're getting a rally-based rally. This looks like to me like a little back test that we had over here into this demand zone, and it's holding, and the 200 average was underneath it, holding it up, and it should get us at least here and more likely out through the top. This is going to break, I think, through this, at least back to here, back to 97, then up through there. So we're looking for, this level over here again. So the dollar's going to have some strength, and that'll put a lot of pressure on some of the currencies for us. Let's take a look at euro, which is now took a long time to break down. I've been bearish for like 2 weeks already, waiting for this nonsense. And it's starting now. I think we were seeing the end of it here. The only question is, you notice that we were in this little channel on the daily chart, and look at the bottoms of them, and we're right there again. So the question now is, okay, well, are we done with the channel and we're going to break down? Or are we, okay, we're in the channel and we just hit the bottom, so now we're going to make our way back to the top, That's the question. I think we're done, but, because of what we're seeing on the dollar, I'm not sure just yet. We'll have to watch and see what it does over here. Do I want to be short? Absolutely. Am I short already? Yes. I've been short for, I don't know, a week or so. And I'm just waiting for this thing to break down. We started last week off the supply zone. I'm sorry, switch my chart. And we hit the supply last week on the weekly chart over here, and that was the time to start thinking about right up here. All right, and now we're getting this continuation. So I think this is now, back test of the supply and the close underneath last week. So we should be seeing a test of the lows again, which is really under here, which means we should be breaking down out of this to the downside. That's what it looks like, at least from the weekly chart over here. Let's go into the 240 and see what it's showing us. I'm sorry, the 60. Here we go. Open up our 60 chart. Okay, so there's the downtrend. That's nice. This is a long range of 4 or 5 days of sideways action that we had going on over here. So there's some nice looking supply up here. This is fantastic supply if it gets back to 15.5. Otherwise, we'll have to probably trade something on a smaller time frame over here someplace. But shorts is the way to go for this. For euro right now, and the target looks to be like around, I would say, 13 for now, around 13. So shorts on the euro down to 13, 113 obviously. There's a nice looking 15 zone, made a new low, so we can short that one right there, 14.40310 to 14.380. Totally shortable. That is by the way, the 50 moving average on the 60. That's the number. Okay. Cool. Aussie dollar, same story, breaking down finally after many, many days of chopping around. It broke down on the smaller time frames. It's still hanging up here on the daily, which is really, really nice because there's plenty of room down over here, back to 7,000. I keep saying it, and now it's finally done it. Right, it's getting up to this. I can see it hit this a couple of times, and now we're starting to break down over here. These are all lower than up here. We should be seeing some continued pressure over here. This selling supply over here on the, on the weekly chart should give us this pushback to the breakout, which is basically 7,000 over here someplace. And all kinds of air under here. You can see that. So that's what we're looking for. I think the Aussie is going to push down this week, and it's going to give us an opportunity because it really hasn't started too much yet. If we look at the smaller time frames, you'll see that it's sold off a little bit. But not enough to be concerned that I missed anything just yet. Looks like it did this little wick out situation, trying to get rid of some of the people that were short when their stops in the wrong place, and got rid of them. Right, you can see that. And now it's starting to break down. As I zoom out of this, you'll see that we have some really nice room underneath us. This is one of the better trades I like this week. There aren't too many actually, because most of them haven't. There's going to be good trades, they're just not on the charts yet. This one's already showing up, you know, and the crude short and the equity short and stuff. We still need things to happen before I can start those trades. But this one is already showing, it's showing its hand already. There's the high, lower high, rejections over here, all kinds of air underneath. I mean, this is all garbage. We know this is not demand. So what am I looking at? A big mild pocket of air, minimum down to 70-30, and more likely down to 7. So this is here. Okay, that means small time frame shorts right away into some shorts. If you can afford to put your stop up here above the wicks, probably a good idea. It's not a lot of ticks as far as Aussie is concerned. 20, 30 ticks are not expensive, so maybe $100 of risk or something like that for a contract. $150 of risk. It's a swing trade, and you're aiming for 7,000. So we're talking about 160, ticks. So it's a good risk to reward ratio. Okay, so keep your eye on the Aussie shorts for this week. It's a good trade. Next. Pounds, this week had a bunch of volatility with the Brexit vote and then the no confidence vote, blah, blah, blah. And in the meantime, from the technical standpoint, we rallied up into the supply zone and we sold off straight out of the zone. There's our daily supply. We go into the zone and we immediately retrace. For the weekly, we got a big-ass doji, okay? Still a lower high. Right, so on the 240, we did flip trend, so I think a lower high might get us into a short. Other than that, I don't know yet if I'm taking any longs just yet. There's a lot of news going on with the pound. It's just jumping all over the place. I think there's safer trades than this right now. So I'm going to go through the zones, but I don't know. I'm not really taking any trades on pounds these days until we get some clarity of what's going on. We've hit some supply. There's demand over here. Under here, I don't mind taking shorts. I mean, that's just a quick bang, bang. It's all air. So if we push into some supply over here and we make a lower high, I might take that trade. That's, 13 down to, 12, 750, 250 worth of ticks. This is the zone. That might be something I might take just because it's small risk and ton of reward. But it's also a short time frame trade. It's nothing that, you're going to hold for more than a day. It should happen quickly. If it doesn't, it's probably not a good idea. So, there we go for that. As far as anything else, I'm waiting to see what happens with pounds before we start getting any trades going. There's better things than that. Let's go look on Canadian, which has been sideways for quite some time now. We had that big pop, right, last 2 weeks ago, I guess, and a little continuation last week. And then this week we get the little doji candle, a little Harabi inside candle. It's just a flag. It's a massive bear flag, but it's still a downtrend over here. We haven't really created a higher low just yet. There has to be something like this if it's going to rally. I think Canadian's been supported by the rise in crude prices, and we're thinking crude's going to sell off, plus the fact that the dollar's actually going to start getting stronger again. So this is done. I think we're actually going to break down out of here and do maybe this, I don't know, but this is the piece that we're expecting this week, the down piece. Pull back down maybe into this, 200 moving average over here on the week on the 240, somewhere around 74 or 7 something or other down there. Big sell-off over here. There's a lot of air underneath us because of this big pop that happened. And once we start breaking down under it, there's a really nice short. So if we look at Canadian from the 60, you'll see that it hasn't started. The move hasn't started to the downside yet. Well, the demand is still underneath us over here, and the supply is up here. And we're trading right in the middle. Look at the 50 average. We're hugging the average for the last week and a half. Nothing going on over here. It's just chopping up and down on either side. So it's not really ready to break. I think it's going to break down, but it hasn't shown itself yet. So we're watching it. Okay. Waiting for this to happen. We want to see maybe some demand get hit on the lower high. Work nicely. But until it starts showing its hand, we have to hold off. I'm leaning short, but no trade yet. Okay. Yen is absolutely a short at this point. Nice looking sell-off this past week. Looks like what wicked monthly supply got hit. Look at the monthly candle so far. All right, so, wow. We hit the supply up here, and we get the doji, and then we get the continuation to the downside. So we're going to come back at least and test the breakout over here. That's a minimum, which is around 9,500 or so. Right, this area over here on the daily average looks like the 200 moving averages in there. The demand zone is right there. So we should still continue selling pressure for the yen this week, which means we want to be short. The trend is already down, so any pullback and any rally into a supply zone should be shorted. A couple of zones I drew right over here on the 60. Looks like this will be a good short right here. Okay, looks like 91, call it 2, 91.9 change in there. Inside the zone, looks like a 50 average will be in there, so if we get a pop, that's a short. Okay, I'm looking for a push down further on the 240 chart. We saw that level down there, so there's a little bit of demand over here and chance to get short. Okay, when it pushes up out of the zone, look for shorts on BM. MACS. So, interesting move this week for MACS after the really strong start. And then we get this little push back over here over a couple of days, and it gets into the gap that was created last Sunday night, and then it rallies out really strong. Look at this candle. Oh dear, this is the island bottom that I was talking about, and then we get this candle. So if we get a continuation tomorrow or tonight even of the gap to the upside, then know what this is? This is a monster bull flag. Look at the size of this thing. Okay, let me erase that and clean it up for you. Flag, staff, you're talking about boom to the upside, right? That's 4.2. That's the target. All we need to do is get above here. This hammer, we get above the hammer, we're going to explode. Okay, so watch that gas again for a really nice break out to the upside. That's what I think we're going to see based on the fact that we've pulled into this island bottom. But really, this was a channel. This was just a little channel down. And if it starts getting out of the top, no question about where it's going. Massive pop. Okay, so we'll see if that comes through. Let's take a look on the 6th. Here it goes. So there's a little down channel going on over here. In the 60, the 60 trend is down. We've hit the gap. You can see that. We didn't fill it. Also, notice that we left part of it unfilled, which is interesting. Which means the demand is real. Couldn't even get down to fill the gap. Shoots out, massive pop out of there, and I think we're going to see some kind of gap up tonight probably, and wipe out all these shorts that were here during the week. They're gone. And we should see something above 4 this week. So that guess I think is still looking very bullish. Okay. Copper. So copper, again, is all related to the China news. The pop that we're seeing on the chart is all China. So until it's a done deal, I don't believe any of their shit. This is, we can still go in nonsense. We've been testing lows and testing highs, and we're waiting for these guys to figure out what the hell they want to do with the deal. All right, so it's all technical at this point. We're in supply again. You know what I mean? So should we see another pullback? Probably. It's been going sideways for weeks and months. And, it's a big range, but it's still a range. And every time they say, oh, there's going to be a deal, we get a pop, and they go, oh, no, sorry, and then we're going to increase the tariffs. And then it sells off again. So it's totally BS at this point. This is our monthly. We don't need to see that. 4 or 5 months in a row sideways action. Right? Let's take a look at the 60, because at this point we're really only trading smaller time frames because of all this back and forth stuff that's going on. Where is my mouse? Just lost my mouse. There it is. Okay. Copper on the lower time frame. I'll just. Okay, you can see it's got a little uptrend on the 60. We're coming into some supply. Expect pullback out of this area. It's just, again, it's all news related. Soy is the best looking trade I see so far. I believe that we're done with our little nonsense moves, and that's it. We should see a continuation to the upside, and the next upside here is breaking us through the top over here. We came back into the demand over here, and we were able to hold it on the daily, and we're shooting back over here, so we should begin taking that out. You can see it over here. Supply gets taken out. Over here, we're still in the air. We touched a little bit of this, but again, not fresh, nothing fresh over here. Boom, we're through that. Okay, so next stop, there was a little gap over here on the smaller time frame that pushed us back a little bit at the end of the day, but buy any pullback in soy. Okay, it's a swing trade now, and we're looking for a minimum target of 10.25. Maybe 10. There'll be some pressure if you want to get out over there first. But we hit a 60 gap over here. It looks like on Friday, and we're getting a little pushback. There's demand over here, no question there. Looks really nice. Okay, you can see it. Made a new high, so you can take that level again if it gets back down there, or you can just trade any high or low at this point. Put the stop under there. and aim for 10. Okay? And if you're a bigger swing trader, it's 1024. That's the target. So I like the soy longs. Looking good. It's ready. Bonds are almost at our swing short target. Almost there. We're about 10 ticks away, so the 10-tick rules go into effect on Monday. Looks like swing short out of here, and our target was 144, so we got really close. We're in the demand zone over here a little bit on the daily chart. Still making all these lower highs, so I'm not so concerned just yet. I haven't closed my short yet. I'm still waiting for the 144. So again, any rallies over here are still shortable. It's just that you're getting close to the point where, you know, we can expect it to turn. You can see it got down into the demand on the 60, and it's just hanging around over here. So I'm going to pull my stop down above this wick over here around 140 and 22-30 seconds or so, and wait for it to see what it wants to do. Okay, but the shorts are in play. There was a swing trade. It's almost over. And that's it for this coming week. Feel free to email me, text me, whatever, Skype me if you have any questions. And I will send out another webinar on Wednesday. Enjoy. All the best. Take care. Bye.